my god! Oh! Oh! Oh!
Not so tough now, are ya? He likes the bones. Here, have a bone. He needs a name. Sven. It's Sven. Sven is on the attack.
Woohoo! League of Legends!
Jesus fucking Christ. Fuck off! And oh my god, you're so annoying. I hate you so much. Fucking children.
Fuck off, bro! Fuck off! Oh my fucking god.
Like, I will never understand game companies that have their resolution defaulted at 800, 600. I don't play on my fucking phone! I can't fucking do this.
It's very, very close. What the fuck? Dead. Headshot.
Fuck drinks beer.
Fucking pissed off, bro. Don't fucking fuck with me, bro.
Fake rage. He only streams for rent money. Fake rage. Yeah, you know what? My life is fucking miserable. I hate my fucking life. I hate it. Yeah, I stream for rent money. I don't like streaming. I don't like any of the games I play. I am fucking depressed and fucking miserable. I don't sleep. I eat like shit. I have no friends, no social life, and I'm fucking miserable.
How? How did they think that was okay to even put it in the game? I'm so sick of this fucking company. They're trash! Fix the game! It sucks playing the shit! And I'm fucking addicted!
You guys all know what it feels like when you're a streamer and you're on a loss streak and it's like you need to smile through the pain? It's like imagine you're a clown in a circus and you start telling everyone. It's like imagine there's a circus clown and he starts telling everyone that he's suicidal and depressed, but everyone thinks it's a part of the act, so they all start laughing. And then he starts breaking down in tears, but like everyone thinks it's still a part of the act, so that they're laughing. And then he's just screaming at them to like understand him, but it's like they don't understand that it's an act in game. You know what I mean? And they don't understand that this clown has nothing but dark thoughts in his fucking mind. And it's like
When I was 7 years old, I got my first video game console. It was a PSP, and if you know what that is, and you had one of those around 15 years ago, well, you were probably one of the cool kids. Even though I think that my parents did a fairly good job in raising me and only allowing me to play after I was done with my schoolwork or just on the weekends, I can still remember that any chance I got to play, I was playing. I was using that PSP all the time. I also remember that during that time I used to get car sick all the time. So even short rides or long rides, I was to be sick all the time, and I don't remember why exactly, but I do remember that during longer rides, I used to have my PSP with me all the time. And for some reason, I still can't remember why to this day, or can't realize it even now, but playing on my PSP while I was in the car made me even sicker. But that didn't stop me, right? I used to play even more just to like numb that sickness, but it was getting worse and worse and worse. And I still can't explain why I was doing it. Like my parents knew that I was getting sick. They would tell me not to stay on it. And I was secretly hiding like this in a corner, like close to the door, just playing, even though I was like almost vomiting all the time. It's crazy, I know.
I want to know.
Intentionally doing something that harms you, pains you, hurts you, and so on is nothing short of addiction in my opinion. But I was a kid. You can justify that in a kid, right? Well, how about teenagers that lose endless nights just gaming all the time? What about adults that waste their life away in front of a screen? Can you justify that? Addiction doesn't care about age. We're all human and we all function the same way, more or less. Addiction is obviously a very serious and complex topic, and by no means am I an expert. But what I'm about to say is purely based on my experience and the little research I've done to try to understand my behavior. I specifically want to talk about competitive video games, you know, like CSGO, League of Legends, Fortnite, and so on. Those games that never really end and you can always get better at. But in order to understand why we're so addicted to shooting other people, killing minions, and looting, we must first understand how these games impact our brains. According to some scientific theories, our brain is divided into 3 sections: the reptilian brain, the limbic brain, and the neocortex. The first 2 are responsible for your well-being, and what I mean by that is that they're responsible for your body functions like heart rate, breathing, body temperature regulation. They're also responsible for your survival, so your fight or flight response, and they also put you in a position to reproduce. The reason it's called the reptilian brain is because it's the oldest part of our brain, at least from an evolutionary standpoint. So basically all mammals have this part of the brain. You could basically survive with just this part of the brain. There was a study once with chicken where they would only have this part of the brain and it could live for years, which is kind of amazing, really. Now, going back to our point, for any given stimuli to be engaging, so for it to capture our attention, it has to somehow tap into this part of the brain. Basically, it has to convince the brain that it serves a purpose and that it helps us fulfill one of the basic human needs. What are basic human needs, you might ask? This is the famous pyramid of Maslow, and it highlights the hierarchy of needs. I'm going to quickly explain this because it makes sense, trust me. At the bottom we have physiological needs, so that has anything to do with your body, so food, water, oxygen, and so on. Up next you have safety, so you gotta be in a safe environment so that a lion is not gonna eat you, right? Then, and here's where it gets interesting, you have to be part of a group. You have to belong. You have to have people around you, surround you. You have to feel like you're part of something bigger. After that is esteem, so you have to feel good about yourself. You have to actually, well, let's call it self-love, if you will. Cognitive needs, that's knowledge needs, so you feel the need to know more about the world. You have to improve your ability to process information and to retain that information and recall it. Then you have aesthetics, so anything that has to do with looks, how you look, how you appear in front of other people, where you live, so how well your house is decorated, and so on and so forth. Then you have self-actualization, so your accomplishments throughout your life, what you actually do, and how meaningful that is in a society. And then you have transcendence, which is basically transcending beyond our basic human needs. You basically don't need any of those anymore, but that's something for another video, I guess. Why is this important, you might ask? Well, if we look back at the games that I just listed, you'd see that they almost all seem to follow the same pattern. There's 2 teams, usually made out of 5 people, and a well-specified goal. The goal of the game is usually to beat the other team, right? And in order to do that, you have to communicate with your teammates and work together, come up with strategies to better your opponents. It wouldn't really be a competitive game if it didn't have some meaning attached to the outcome. So a win has to feel like a win and a loss has to feel like a loss. That is why there are ranking systems implemented into these games that either make you feel good about winning or feel bad about losing. This is usually expressed in the form of elo or rank, right? So you have bronze, silver, gold, and so on. Every game does it differently, but there's usually a certain pattern that they follow. Now, let's look at a more trivial example. A dispute between 2 tribes over a piece of land. The goal of the game is obviously well defined in this case. Win the land for your own tribe, right? The same goes for communication and cooperation, right? No tribe can hope to succeed if they don't work together to defeat their opponents, in this case, the opposing tribe. Unfortunately, history tells us that there have never been clear winners or losers in any conflict. But for the sake of the argument, let's just assume that one tribe is the winner. The rewards and consequences are pretty clear in this case. The winning tribe now has more resources and more land to multiply and flourish, while the losing tribe is probably going to go extinct. Going back to our brains, without the neocortex, the part that actually makes decisions and analyzes situations, the rest of our brain, so the limbic system and the reptilian brain that we just talked about, could hardly make the difference between the 2 scenarios. So a game of League of Legends and this dispute between the tribes. Even if human society has changed much since the age of tribal disputes, our brains barely changed. Our lives are still driven by goals, ambitions to become part of society, and our inherent need to reproduce. When you work with your team together to defeat the other team, that is belonging. You work together towards a bigger goal. When you begin to get good at a game, well, that's esteem. You're proud of yourself for not sucking. When you watch YouTube videos and tutorials and learn more about a game, well, that's your cognitive need. When you buy the latest skin and show it off to your friends, well, that's your aesthetic need. And when you climb up the ranks, guess what? It's self-actualization. You basically fulfilled almost all the needs. What more can you want from a game, right? There's also a bigger problem, which is dopamine. So dopamine is a neurotransmitter or chemical in your brain that is mostly responsible for motivation or reward seeking. But recent study has shown that it's actually responsible for expectation of reward, right? So it gets secreted or triggered when your brain feels like your basic human needs will get fulfilled. Now don't get me wrong, dopamine is great, like we need it to survive. But the only difference between video games and real life is that video games, or well, even social media, but I'm not gonna go into that right now, they give you very easy rewards, right? You don't have to work too much for them. You get them easily and you get them constantly. So the more you play, the more you get them. Here's the problem. Once you get a big dopamine spike, it also has to crash down. It always has to crash down. There is no way around it. That's how your brain works. And the quicker you get that spike and the quicker it drops down, the quicker your brain will try to search for another one of those spikes. So the more you play, the more you want to play. It's crazy. That's literally addiction in a few words. That is why people commonly refer to it as cheap dopamine. So you get it very easily, you get very big spikes very quickly, but you also get very big, quick crashes, right? Now, if you understand this, you basically got the principle behind all types of addiction. That is reinforcement behavior. But if you understood anything from what I've just said, you'd understand that you're not really addicted to the games themselves. You're addicted to how they make you feel. I'll say that again. You're not addicted to the games. You're addicted to how they make you feel. Now, if you actually understand this, you can become more aware and get back control over your life. You don't have to be addicted forever. You just have to make the right choices. So how do you fix this? Well, I have a pretty simple solution. Quit video games. Get real dopamine. Level up in real life, and you'll soon see the difference. Keep growing.
Esta merda, pá, tem que falar 500 vezes, pá!